doesn't mean I didn't steal your white one. Live. So, I'm Locke.
And I'm Noon.
We're here to save the world. And we're live today.
Live, believe it or not. After all of the trials and tribulations thereof. Hey, man.
Hey, we've been working hard on this.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad. I wanted to show you something. I don't know if I can YouTube or not, but I'm going to do it for 3 seconds.
Okay.
So, I got a story for you. I had this thing, right? This thing. Seen it everywhere. I go everywhere with this stupid thing around my neck, right? Just because it's there, right? I forget half the time. I had another one for this one, and that was pretty basically the same thing. Gone. One day, just gone. Gone. Who knows? Now shit disappears. Shit just disappears, right?
Right.
Fucking goblins came up and picked it up and
swallowed
walked away.
up by the vortex.
So I'm like, fuck. And I search the house. I look everywhere. Everybody's looking. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen at least once. At least once every time.
With your hands.
At least once every time, I'm gonna throw that ashtray across the room and make a big fucking noise. So anyway, I got the whole house looking for it. I got the boys looking for it. I got Jen looking for it. I got everybody looking. Nobody can find it. This was like 3 weeks ago. So I bought this one, and I was really excited about it because it's got this feature where you can walk around with your own theme song.
I like that.
Where you can basically, well, you walk around and have your own theme music as you walk around.
Now, does it change as you?
Yeah,
move?
I mean, well, it's
I mean, if you break into a, oh, I see.
It's your playlist, so you can set to whatever you want to be.
Nice.
So it made me laugh when I first did it, and I walked in the room, and Jen and the boys were in there, and I had that particular song, which is "The Baddest Man Alive."
Right.
Ever heard that song?
Love it.
I love that song.
Yeah. So there's a episode of Family Guy where Peter Griffin, one of his 3 wishes with the genie was to have his own theme music.
Everywhere he went.
And when he gets on the bus, it plays driving on the bus music, and when he walks, it plays walk music. I think it's a wave of the future.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, they have one that's bigger than that.
Yeah.
They have one that's big, like
well,
this
it's
big,
America,
huge,
of
like.
course.
Oh yeah. But it's made
like
by
yours
Korean.
is cool, but mine weighs 10 pounds.
Right.
And it blows black smoke out of an exhaust pipe. So fuck off.
Yeah, it's huge. It's like this speaker harness that you wear.
It's like, look, man. Here's the thing: when we were kids, glasses weren't cool, right? It was 4 eyes this and 4 eyes that. You know, nowadays kids wearing fake glasses.
Yeah,
just
adults are wearing fake glasses.
Headgear's coming back, dude. Remember the headgear back in the day? The braces headgear, right? That's you never seen this?
No, I know what the braces headgear is. But
man,
what do you mean by it's coming back?
Yeah, you're gonna have this technological head brace now that plays your own theme music, right? And it's gonna point out things in your vision, like
like
Terminator
augmented reality
and all
right?
that, right? And it's just gonna be this massive headgear. And it's gonna be, and you're gonna have to wear glasses too. So
that's hilarious. I can't believe like braces. Do you think it's gonna go that far? Like we're gonna have that much shit on our face? Like I can't even deal with the piercings that people do now. Like if you want to pierce yourself, do it. I'm all about it, man.
Yeah, but isn't this coming, man? Bluetooth nose
cool,
rings.
Though? Wouldn't
right?
that be cool though to have like a little Bluetooth stud right
That's
here?
That's what I mean, man. So it's gonna happen, right? We've got to figure out.
Good idea. We should
While
market
other
that, right?
really smart things are happening, somebody got to do something like
really dumb,
right.
like really smart dumb,
right?
You know, like a Bluetooth, like a moth,
and it's gonna reach a bigger audience. Really, the Bluetooth piercing, it's gonna be bigger than whatever advancements are coming out these days. No one cares about that. It's just, is my piercing going to play music for me? Not. Right? It's gonna reach a bigger.
I want to have to make that decision one day.
So I don't know, man. What do you want to talk about today? We got a lot to talk about, man.
Oh, so I can continue. So the end of the story.
Oh yeah, what happened with these things?
So the youngest comes up. I tell them to come down here and get stuff ready for a yard sale. Like, get some of their old toys together, put them in a box. Go through all your stuff, get the stuff you don't want no more, put it in the box. We're going to sell it, or we'll donate it. Right? One of the two will happen. He comes upstairs. Dad, guess what I found? What? Oop. There they were. I don't know how they were in a cardboard box of toys inside the toy box.
In the donate box?
No.
Oh, okay. Inside the toy box.
Cardboard box inside the toy box, buried underneath.
Oh.
Idea how that happened. Like, gone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sucked up into the vortex, man.
I want you to try something.
All right.
Before this is over. That is like wheat bakery flavor. And by Heavy Cloud. This Melanie watermelon fruity thing by Heavy Cloud. And this is I have no idea what's in it. I'm not gonna give you.
I feel like you have like $380 worth of vapes in front of me. Aren't these things expensive?
No. This is that's probably about $2. Just because I buy stuff from direct from the China manufacturer. Well, not from the manufacturers, but there's a website that sells all this stuff, and it's all like factory direct stuff. So if you go to a vape shop, you're going to pay like $75 for a vape. But if you go to Fast Tech or the other websites that are out there, $5 for a vape.
Man.
Yeah, there's got to be markup. You know, I mean, it's just how it is. The convenience of going to the store and saying, "Wow, I really want that."
Yeah, do it every morning. Spend $7 every morning on that pack of cigarettes.
So I want you to try these because I know I tried to get you to do this before, and it would really take with either of you.
Right. Well,
and I would like to keep you around a little bit longer.
There's some muscle memory things going on there. Absolutely. I think. Right. I've been doing this a long time. Not saying that with pride. I'm saying I've been smoking for a long time.
Yeah, it sucks. I smoked for 16 years, man. It was like I started right when I had a car.
Yeah.
So I probably started before I had a car. But I remember going and getting a pack of cigarettes when whatever. 16, driving around smoking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when, and then I quit. I made a promise to myself and to my wife. I was like,
gotcha. So, a lot going on since we were here last. A couple weeks ago, for those of you who missed it, which is probably everybody because we've got 4 subscribers and I don't even think it's up on YouTube anymore. Just trust me when I say that last week we got deep into sort of the political climate right now, which is as deep into the shit as it pretty much gets.
Yeah.
Specifically talking about how there's so many empty desks at these very important departments.
Right.
I can't imagine much has changed with that in 2 weeks, but we've had some other pretty significant events going on when it comes to sort of world political climate and a little closer to home.
Yeah.
With the tragedy in Charlottesville, Virginia, and all of these things. So last week being sort of touching on humanity as a subject and just these glaring things that have happened since then, right? I mean, we're not feeling any better 2 weeks later, and this seems to be a trend. and it's like you just want to shake the world and say, what is going on, everyone?
Yeah,
right?
it's hard. It's hard to look at it right now with optimism, right? And say, yeah, 2 weeks ago we kind of find out, bad stuff was happening. Specifically, last week we talked about the Vanity Fair article um, about the Department of Energy and a lot of the empty desks at the Department of Energy. And then you look at that and how important it is that there are people there taking care of, like, nuclear weapons and nuclear waste and stuff like that. And then it just hasn't gotten any better.
No. As a matter
there's
of
been
fact,
it's been getting like steadily worse for the last 2 weeks.
I feel like it escalated so quickly. I was not consciously aware of things during the Cuban Missile Crisis,
Mm-mm.
right? So,
you weren't even alive,
right, right, not consciously aware of anything.
You weren't alive,
which is another way of saying I don't think I was created yet, right?
Right.
So, but here's the thing: all of a sudden, a middle of a workday, and everyone's reviewing what to do in case of nuclear attack. I mean, this is how fast this escalated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is this is 2 weeks ago. Like, yeah, we know we have a tip with North Korea. That's not a current administration thing. That's been happening for quite a long time. But now it's like, man, there's people on both sides with their finger on a button. Theoretically.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know that any fingers are on. Anything that comes out of North Korea, and I mean, I think that everybody kind of views anything that comes out of North Korea with skepticism. If they don't, they should. They really should. It's a very kind of weird situation there. Back in the 90s, when I was in the military, that was where I was at. And so I kind of have some experience of what going on at that time. And this was like the late 90s. 95 to
You were in the
2000s.
DMZ, or you were on a ship?
No, I was on the ship. I was with 7th Fleet. So that ship that just got attacked, Fitzgerald, that was part of 7th Fleet, and that it not attacked. They wrecked, right?
Right.
The one that wrecked. Thinking of the Cole at the same time. Cole was one of Fitzgerald had a wreck. That was in Tokyo Bay, right outside of Yokosuka, which is where I was stationed. So like that happened. What was very interesting about that incident is that when I was on the Blue Ridge with 7th Fleet, we had anchored out in Tokyo Bay during a storm. And we actually collided with another ship. So I can only tell you what happened from my perspective. Now, this is a perspective of a low man on the totem pole, an enlisted dude standing out on the sponson deck having a cigarette, right? And I'm just standing there smoking, and we're all kind of, there's guys out there because we're floating, we're anchoring, basically. We're doing anchoring, trying to find a spot, set out the storm. And all of a sudden, a bunch of guys just start running towards me, and they said, brace for impact. And then I hear the brace for impact alarms go off on the ship. So when you see a bunch of bosun's mates running your way saying brace for impact, you wrap your arm around something.
Sure.
They know what they're talking about, right? And we hit another ship, just barely. We kind of like, I believe we came side to side and just kind of brushed, but it was it was some damage. It wasn't like fender bender. It ripped the railings off the side of the sponson deck,
right?
Bridges. and the sound. All I remember is the sound. It was that horrible screeching metal sound, right? You know, went on for a really long time, and it was really loud because I was literally right there watching this other ship hit me. That was scary enough. These guys were freaking asleep.
Right.
They were asleep in their bunks, and all of a sudden the compartments fill in with water. Like, that had to be. I mean, at that point, you just kick into like, I know what to do mode. You've been trained so hard, and it's been drilled into your head so hard that you don't even really think about it anymore. You just kind of do it, go. So, wonder, But anyway, to get back to the original point, North Korea.
I immediately think of how awkward of an insurance card exchange that must have been. You know what I mean? Like, just like
this. When those
ships, like, nah, I didn't even leave a scratch. No, come on, man, you ripped a railing off. Dude, like, I need your insurance card, man.
Yeah,
like, don't even, don't tell me that was there.
What sucks about that is that that captain's done. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whose fault it was, what happened, whatever.
Yeah.
That captain's. And in my particular case, the captain of the Blue Ridge was leaving the command. Like, I want to say 4 days. I'm not. It was 20 years ago. I don't really fucking remember. But literally, we were pulling into port to send him on his way. He was leaving in days.
Yeah.
To go be an admiral, and I don't think that happened.
Because of that.
I don't know, but I don't think that happened. They hit another ship. Hard to hit another ship.
Right.
Like, something that large, it's kind of hard for those two things to brush again.
Right.
You gotta kind of mess up pretty bad for that to happen. But yeah, North Korea, man.
It's
a weird place.
I understand as much as a layman can understand about North Korea, considering a lot of our top officials are just blind to really some of the inner workings there. They're just such an isolated place. But some research I've even learned more is even more extreme, and I've done a little just out of curiosity, but the North Korea is one of the darkest countries on the planet. The only person with electric light is Kim and his upper generals. There are computer majors in North Korea that do not know the internet exists. I mean, this is a level of suppression that has to happen over a century. You know what I mean? I mean, whether this is pretty crazy stuff. And I know that most during the moment that day a couple days ago, that was the feeling. Right? People had their fingers on the button, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's because I'm sitting here in the middle of a piece of art, and I've got news coming at me from the peripheral from employees, almost minute by minute. I mean, they're getting excited, updates. They're all of this stuff. So this was the overall feeling, and I had just thought back to our conversation the other day, and just kind of chuckled about these events and this escalation and this administration, all of that. It just popped up into my head how fast that situation became pretty ridiculous. And it is worrisome to me, considering I think it was the next day. We meaning Trump, also sort of threatens Venezuela. It's just like, man, we are not even a year in.
Maybe you want to slow your roll.
Slow your roll, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look, war makes money. I get it, right?
that's just like way war used to make out of cleaning out of the male population, right?
Right.
And look at World War II. How many casualties was in the 300,000s, right? Is it Civil War? I know the Civil War because it's just stuck in my head for some reason. Lost 850,000. 850,000 people, right? And then look at the Gulf War. We lost what? 30. It was in the low thousands. The 9/11 attacks, one of the worst tragedies of our generation, right? We lost 600, 500 people thereabouts. But it's interesting how we're looking at it very differently. Us, 850,000 people dying right now. If that were to happen to us right now, what would it do to the psyche of our nation, right? Yeah. When we lose one person, like we lost in Charleston, everybody's upset, as they should be. But that one person, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's one of those things where we have a certain amount of bandwidth, right? Or hear about something, the more it kind of that bandwidth. People die like somebody dies every.
Sure.
It's a matter of perspective, right? This argument we're having with, like, as a nation and as basically as humanity, been pretty calm scale of arguments with each.
And yet we're more offended by all of it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Right? The oppression Olympics, right?
There's a balancing effort there by the universe, you know.
Yeah, I think that I think that it's weird. I think that the scales, but it's a spectrum. So the spectrum, right? You have people on either end of the spectrum. People who are completely insensitive and aren't enough. On the other end, you can have the people who are offended by everything.
True.
And play that game, of, well, what can you do today to offend me? What can I be offended about? I think that the scale moves, right? Because those people before who would get offended by dirty language, rap music lyrics, right? And so as that scale kind of moves, is what is offensive, what is not, always going to have that spectrum with these people are going to fucking offend. Bullshit that the most people are not offended.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And then on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have people who just don't. These are people who are always going to exist that just will never be offended.
Bill Maher just actually did a really good interview, CNN, I think today or yesterday, but this was sort of his point. Now, of course, very recently he was under fire for saying the N-word on his show. And here's a guy who had a show called Politically Incorrect for many, many, many years. So I don't think I was personally shocked by it in the context in which he was doing it. He was trying to joke around,
right?
Obviously, a pretty ballsy joke, right? But I don't think I've ever said that word ever under any context. But his whole point was how easily everyone is becoming offended. He wasn't necessarily talking about his own mistake there, but that in this world where you say one thing wrong, everyone jumps on you, right? or you're fired, or you're too much of a liability, or we're gonna pull all it. We were also talking the other day about how it's really the speed of information these days, right? I mean, 20 years ago, you could say whatever you want. If it was big enough to make the local news, or if you were to actually be there when it happened, I mean, nobody cared. Nobody knew about it, and no one hounded. You know what I mean? You had a little bit of
you could call
splashback, right?
Bob across the street an asshole, and nobody would know about it but you and Bob.
Right, and maybe the neighbor who's nosy, and that's just it. I mean, it's really the speed of information, right? And
well, it's different now. We call each other asshole over the internet, and it's out there for everyone to see.
Well, and you on social media, oh, this asshole this morning in this blue van cut me off, and now 80 people know that there's a guy out there in a blue van that's an asshole. But it's the speed of information. It's just that ability to reach, and especially when you're a big figure. But there is a sort of a narrowing of acceptable views. It can be said in public right now.
And see that
right, and that was sort of his point of his interview.
I agree with Gerald Marr. All the other stuff we agree. I do agree with him in the sense that I think people need to fucking relax. Take a step back and realize that this is really just okay. You're not starving. No one's going to shoot you today, most likely. Right?
Most likely.
You can pretty much say whatever you want. Pretty much do whatever you want. So really, is your life that fucking bad? Are you really being that oppressed? I'm not saying that there's not oppression out there. There's a lot of people.
Sure.
What I'm talking about are the people who have invented their own. Because for some reason it is very vogue. Oppressed, right?
It is, yeah.
The meek shall inherit the earth, like that, right? The thing is, and this is my opinion, and really hurt me inside this shit. Inability to actually have respectful, right? About it. Let's just, you can't talk about it and you can't talk it out. You're never going to be able to solve the fucking problem.
No.
So, if you, violence is obviously, because it's just okay. It's okay. Disagree. It's okay to not have the same views on these. Problem lies is start to act on it and get violent and start to deprive other people of their, in one way or another, be it their property or their lives or their ability to freely move, whatever you want to take your pick. Acting against another being without their consent is a bad idea. I don't get it. I don't get the idea, and I'm talking on both sides. Between the neo-Nazis who don't want black people around, okay, right, whatever. You do your thing over there, then. Just go over there and be an asshole. Be an asshole in the corner.
Right.
I don't want to hear it. I don't care what it is. You want to go practice it? Go practice it somewhere where you're not going to bother anybody.
Non-violently.
Right. Just go away. Yeah. Shut up.
Right.
It's the same thing on the other side, right? This whole, I'm offended by, the fact that you're a white male and that you exist. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're offended. I'm not going to do anything about it. Sorry you're offended.
Well, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
we have this issue with the word all right now,
we
right?
do, don't we?
All white guys, all police, all blacks, right? All soldiers,
Whatever.
all anything, all
Yeah.
Muslims. You know, this and it may actually be of our own creation, right? I mean, you put 100 people in a room for 2 weeks, cliques are gonna form.
Yeah, oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
They're going to form for different reasons. They're going to form over
it's just
ideology or
a natural
are
affinity
you
for
pretty
whatever.
or are you ugly or whatever. These things happen all the time, and this is it. This is it on a larger scale. I think, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Take the stance of the alt-right movement at Charlottesville, Virginia this week.
Here's my question, and I'm sorry because I'm really like way behind on this.
Sure.
Because I didn't hear about it until like
sure
this evening. Like I had no idea this was all going on. Like zero idea. I've been inundated with. No, it's gonna happen every time, man. So we'll just pull one out and throw it. I had no idea what's going on.
Okay, so
educate me a little bit, please.
There is a statue of Robert E. Lee. Right. So this has been a point of contention. I really believe going on, at least to some degree, going on for a few years now. But legislation started to move. They started to litigate whether this thing would be removed, and of course they're hearing both sides and all this. And it actually, I believe, was supposed to be removed. Right? They had ruled that they were going to remove it.
Okay.
Huge uproar, of course, from Confederate flag supporters, right? Because this also had a flag there, right? So flag was removed. Now statue's supposed to be removed, right? So there's been an appeal, so then now they're back in litigation. But that is really sort of it's really being used as this symbol of everybody taking their last stand on racism in this particular area. I mean, it's a statue, right? But you have black families walking their kids by this statue, you know, which really is a celebratory almost monument of a guy who probably would have had them enslaved as they walk by this thing in a free world, right? So it pisses them off. And then of course my point is this: you had an accumulative protest against it of about 5 or 6 different groups. I mean, you had Nazis, you had
Antifa was there,
you had KKK there, who coincidentally dressed up like Trump on a golf course. And I know this sounds like a joke. It's not a joke. Trump was recently photographed on a golf course, slacks, white collared polo shirt, and a red hat. And this is the way a lot of the KKK showed up dressed for this event, right? So that was interesting. And but you also, in this pro-Confederate flag group, have the heritage not hate camp, right? Because we as Americans have to, it seems we have to just polarize everything, right? So here's my point, and this point can sort of be shifted onto different controversial subjects and conversations and belief systems, but I think, and if any of you are out there listening, the heritage and not hate camp, needs to be on the other side of that rope. They need to be protesting these white supremacists because they are getting dragged into this too, which is why I have a hard time hearing the heritage, not hate argument, because while you are saying that, someone is hanging that flag above Martin Luther King's church and spray painting racist words all over it, right? So in this sort of thing, this is really showing that, you know, people are mad about things. That's the same thing for different reasons a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yet we still just have to split it in the middle. Half of those people in the anti-protest groups weren't anywhere near as extreme as the Antifa folks, but shoulder to shoulder, right? So
It just sounds like it fucked up.
I can tell you this, the rubber band was tight that day, right? So I wake up in the morning, I'm catching my
You're
morning
catching the
news,
right?
and there's an armed militia. I do not know their name, nor do they need publicity. So it doesn't really matter. All white supremacist armed militia.
Okay, so let's make this clear. It was a white supremacist militia.
Right.
Okay.
AR-15s. You know, and these guys are in full camo, full body armor.
Is essentially what they were thinking.
Right. And then and Antifa, and frankly, I got to give them points on their style at least, because these guys were showing up in football helmets, like old school football helmets, and hard hats, and you know, handmade shields. But you know, this was like a really, really pathetic sort of Braveheart scene, you know, going on, and
trash can lids and sticks against air.
Right. So the rubber band was tight though, and most of the fighting, you know, was pretty typical protest fighting, and then this neo-Nazi wannabe drives his car into the crowd and killing this poor young lady, you know, and condolences to her family. You know, it's shocking to me the level of ignorance. I suppose, you know, you just used an ISIS tactic, right? We've had 4 or 5 of these things now over the last couple of years. The vehicles into the crowd, you know, and you are the same guy who wants to hate Muslims because of their
doing the same
their
thing.
actions, right? I mean, the level of ignorance amongst these people is, I mean, the needle's about to break. I mean, these the tension is there too. So this thing was going to happen.
I think what really bothers me, I think that really tragic that gotten to where we're starting to really do this to each other, like really start to get violent with each other. It's something I've been talking about. Something I've been talking a lot about ever since the election. This whole thing that in this election, the rhetoric, media. I don't want to lay blame on basically everyone. Okay, so we're just gonna have to be patient. The media is to blame because of just this 24-hour coverage of just beating us over the head. All of this soundbite bullshit we get. Politicians are that they ran. Okay, they spun everyone up to the point where emotions were running so high that people were rioting after the election because they were angry with the result. Okay? We've talked about my theory on how that shit went. This wasn't happen.
Right.
You and I have ended up in a weird pocket universe where the election did not go as planned. You know, with all of those things happening, the American public being spun by this constant flow of information, right? We get this flow of information, and gotten the amount has gotten larger and 1,400 here town world. Now we know everything all the time, 24/7. I could figure out how to fucking build an engine, fucking YouTube video if I really wanted to. Okay, we have this huge stream of data. The human brain is drinking fire hose, and when you poison the well like they did in the election, and you spin all these people up, play identity politics, you separate these little groups out, and you say you're trans and you're black, so you fit into this little box, and you're this white male, so you this little box, right? Do that. All you're doing is creating division.
Sure.
And I lay this squarely on the politicians for playing identity politics and playing it so strongly last couple of we are human beings. Human beings. Past that, it doesn't really fucking matter, okay? Because we are the only things like us that we know of. Why would you want to deprive the universe of a thing that can understand it when we really don't even know if there are other things out there that can, that they are in a fucking universe that is larger than themselves, right? That is such a special thing to have. Why would you want to destroy that? Okay? And that's how and it's just, I think, right? Like, I'm the guy who goes and catches the moth with the glass and, like, cups it outside, you know? Right. I don't get it. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I also think that, to your point about, it could just be that we're not evolved as a species enough to have this level of information coming in at all times. I mean, this is pretty early stages of information flooding us. I mean, especially on the scale of humanity. I mean, we've had this thing for about a minute.
That's basically where we're at, right? We have to make the decision. We have to make the decision of whether we're going to continue to rely on the base model or if we're going to upgrade it, right? When you're a kid and you're learning how to drive, right? The, 72 Chevelle with a straight six in it and an automatic transmission where you basically have to hit the D and the pedal, that's good, right? Because you're learning, and that's all you need.
Right.
The reason why big rig drivers have to have a special license, learn how to control the thing that they're the big giant death machine.
Sure.
They're hurtling down the street at 80 miles. Yeah. Where we're at right now, our technology has surpassed our biology and our biology's ability to handle the technology that we've developed. It's a big decision we're going to have to make as a species. We're going to have to decide whether or not, whether or not we're going to improve on the base model. Me personally, my view is bring it on. You know? Elon Musk is working on Neuralink. I'm excited. Give me some wires in my head. I don't give a shit.
I'm excited too, but we can't even figure out a flag right now. It's gonna be a lot of moral,
now look,
stoppages to this kind of.
There is absolutely,
right?
But I think that it's going to happen regardless. You can embrace change that is going to happen, or you can fight it, but you're going to lose. Something like this is not going to get stopped.
Are we upgrading on our own though? I mean, kids, they pop out of the mom, they get a blanket, a rattle, and a cell phone. I mean, in 30 years, this is the generation that will be starting out in some local politics and things like that. There is going to be a time where our president and our Congress will all be of this generation, and by then, I mean, look, we right now, who's all there, and I mean, I'm talking America, so you know, you and I can sit here and talk about pretty much seeing every technological advancement since a black and white TV.
Yeah.
Right. So, our generation has really just been adapting to this with, you know, varying degrees of enthusiasm across the board. Right. But there is going to be a time where the average citizen has grown up with these things, this technology, this when we were kids. I mean, the advancements were there, right? But we didn't have that level of information unless we sat down with mom and dad for the 8 o'clock news or whatever, right? And we got that. But I'm curious, and I'm not even speculating as to what that means, but it's going to be really, really interesting to watch. How does a human being with that level of technology at the age of 5 years old, and that's being generous because I have a 3-year-old niece, well, I love very much, that can manipulate a phone just as good as you and I.
Yeah.
Is that the natural upgrading process before we get into the advancement? I mean, are we at this, I don't know what to do with all this technology, like, are we here because, I mean, for us, we've just been chasing it. Every time something comes out, we maybe know about it, maybe we don't, but I mean, we weren't brought up with it. We weren't, that's some really fundamental brain stuff before 5 years old. That's when you're learning these very, very important things that are going to last your entire lifetime, that you're going to call on your entire lifetime. And we get to see this generation, is it us that can't handle it? Is it our Congress currently? Is it is it of this age, this generation? Is this going to fix itself?
There's a lot of answers.
I know. And I have no speculation on them.
I like to speculate on them all the time. I mean, that's my. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine out in Arizona, and we were discussing what point we were talking about what effect does this have on this ability to, because I was talking to him about being able to turn when I say turn the knobs, meat suit, right? Everything that's going on in there influences the way you think, whether you believe it or not. Whatever science says, what you eat influences the way you think.
Sure,
it just does. Believe me, don't believe me. This is the premise, right? So it would be extremely useful for humanity to be able to turn those knobs, right? Okay, he's 42. He needs more testosterone. Let's testosterone knob up a little bit better. Guy would benefit from a little bit more serotonin, so let's turn the knob of serotonin up a little bit. Well, he needs a little bit less norepinephrine. Let's turn that one down a little bit so he doesn't quite act so psycho, right? Things like that. When I'm talking about turning
Valve 2 isn't working quite right.
Exactly.
Let's divert power to
exactly having control of those biological, be able to kind of achieve a nice little homeostasis where if you eat something bad, like a piece of pie, right? For me, it's a piece of pie because I don't handle sugar. I eat a piece of pie, fucking done. I might as well just lay down and go to sleep because that's what's going to happen anyway, right? Because, right, my insulin spikes. It sets off this chain reaction within your body, right? That makes you tired or blah, blah, blah. Being able to control that and saying, well, I know I just ate a piece of pie. I don't really need that much insulin, right? Or whatever. Controlling that reaction so that it doesn't put you on your ass. Being able to flush your body of alcohol in the event that you would have to drive home in an emergency. Things like that. Being able to control those biological processes. At what point do you stop being human when you control all of these processes? And where do you stop turning? Like, I don't want to feel sad today. I'm just not going to feel sad today.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
Bliss seems nice. Let's do bliss today. Right? I think that those are going to be something you got to figure out. And I think
you think?
Oh, absolutely.
I think of it another way. I think, especially what I'm reading about, there's some really, really real stuff that is even scaring some people, right?
Mm-hmm.
About, genetic manipulation. Are we even going to need those knobs? Or are we?
Well, those are the knobs, essentially.
Are we talking about 60 years from now? No one's born with these issues because we have dialed that in pre-womb, right? I mean, I feel like, at least in my active imagination, we in very early first trimester soon are just gonna get like a which model would you like brochure.
Yeah.
Right, and the more money you have
before that, it would be I mean, that's how that's going to play out.
We're going to get the diseases. They're not free. We'll hit you with the insurance bill, but if you want upgrades, those are going to cost you.
Right. Those are
right?
What do they call elective procedures? Yeah, there you go. It's an elective procedure. You can have your child come out with. Make sure he's 6'2" and
so what and here's the thing, so every single thing about our culture is right, wrong, or indifferent wrapped around our very unique selves trying to form something in a mass, right? I mean, we're all trying to work together, at least within a clique, to achieve some goal. We're gonna what happens to sports when your football families that have been in the NFL and they get it's like, oh man, I've got $100 million. I'm gonna design the best football player that has ever existed, and that's going to what happens to sports, but that's just even like this slice, right?
Yeah.
So what happens to everything when everyone starts becoming a little more perfect, and are we,
it changes,
right? I mean,
but see, haven't we been doing that already to a certain extent? Right now it's surrounding yourself with tools. What's a car? A car is a tool, transportation tool, right? Status to a certain group, right? You and I excluded from that because we don't give a shit.
Right.
But there are people who give a shit about what car they drive. They want a BMW, whatever. Okay, it still does the same shit that
sure,
EOS does, but it's just nicer. Right? We've been doing that for centuries, right? Somebody's going to have a little bit nicer this, or they're going to make something nicer. It's moving forward, right? And so people thought shit was going to get real fucked up when there started to be cars on the road. Oh, the people are going to get run down, and there's going to be horses that are going to get spooked, and people are going to get killed. It's going to be a huge,
right?
Public safety issue, and it was. It is still a huge public safety issue, even 100 years later, right? But what's interesting about it is, eventually, it becomes less of an issue. Fucked ourselves up with cars for a while. Accidents were really killing a lot of people. Then it started to take a because we figured it out. We're going to figure it out, man.
Sure.
People are going to be able to customize themselves. And then they're going to say, well, listen, if you want to compete in this league, right, these are the changes that Other than that, you go any farther than this line, you can't be in this league.
Right.
You can be in this league. Anything goes league. Fucking whatever.
Sure.
Have 6 arms. Nobody gives a shit, right?
Baseball
and then you have the baseline.
Baseball
right?
fields are 1,000 yards long.
And then you have the baseline where it's, you know, you have to have been naturally able to compete.
Sure.
Why can't we have all 3? We can have all 3.
Sure.
There are people who would follow the shit out of all 3 of those things.
Yeah, and then there's right, but this is the stars upon thars.
The what?
You never read that Dr. Seuss book?
Stars
the Sneetches on the Beaches.
Oh,
great story.
I'll have to check it out.
So Sneetches on the Beaches. One group has stars on their belly, and one group doesn't. Right? The group with stars on their belly feel better than the one out. Right? So they demean them, talk down to them, they bully them.
Right.
So mysterious guy arrives on the beach with a star adding machine. And he collects all of this money from the Sneetches without stars on their belly. And they all get stars on their belly.
Yeah.
The group originally had stars on their bellies, felt threatened by that, so they had theirs removed by the mysterious guy collecting the money. So now the ones with stars not on their belly still felt better than the ones that had stars, but now they're picking on them because they do have stars, where yesterday they were picking because they didn't.
Right.
So this mysterious guy keeps collecting this money, and all of a sudden everybody starts kind of coming up to him, and before anyone knows it, no one can remember which one was the original group and which one wasn't, and now everybody's got mixed up stars, and the guy rolls off the beach with a bag full of cash.
Right.
Right? As soon as you have a super genetic, right? You know, now we're just gonna hate each other over that, aren't we? I mean, aren't we just gonna figure out, right?
Come on, man. Do we really need a reason to hate each other?
Right.
I mean, seriously. Like, it could be anything. I mean, really, humans pick whatever fucking reason is most convenient to hate each other.
Well, and I think it's because, like you said earlier, we are very special. We're the only thing like us. So just got to cause our own problems, because otherwise we wouldn't fucking have any.
Well, I mean, that's the first thing that you need to do when your nation starts, right? Unite the people behind you.
Sure.
So that's what the United States has been for a very long time. There's always a war to fight. There's always been a war.
Sure.
Because they know that if there isn't a war to fight, we're not gonna stick around very long.
Right. But you know how this story progresses, right? Because we've all seen Terminator 1. I mean, this is it, right?
Yeah, okay.
People, you know.
What do you mean, like blowing each other up with a nuclear weapon?
You really do? I mean, the Anything Goes League, right? And then that whole
that gets out of control,
population grows, right? And then you have the purest natural born,
right?
You know, and that war starts.
There's 2 habitable planets, right? There's 2 habitable planets orbiting TRAPPIST-1, right?
True, and that's
12 light years.
Yeah,
no, it's 7. It's 7.
It was 7.9 or something,
it's like 8
that,
light
right?
Years, right?
So yeah, we better get on the ball, though, right? I mean,
I think all of these things are kind of converging at once. People and their desire to be individualistic, space technologies. Saw a very passing, very shallow article about the EM drive the other day. Are you familiar with the EM drive? This scientist Roger Scheuer, back in the 90s. It's pretty controversial. The propellantless drive. There's been very
electromagnetic.
skeptical.
Is that EM?
Yeah. It's I don't understand it because I kind of grasp a bit of it. I don't understand it. It's a radio frequency cavity, and they have a magnetron, and it generates microwaves. And it shoots the microwaves into this specially shaped cavity, and there's all kinds of radio frequency physics that go into this. Apparently, scales with kind of coefficients, a lot of things that are.
But essentially, it
Suffice it to
amplifies very
it
fast.
runs on electricity. So if it does prove to be something that can be used, like if it proves out that it's scalable or whatever, it's a huge thing, because what that allows us to do is it allows us to get out orbit and out, have propulsion in orbit, propulsion in space, without having to carry a propellant,
Sure.
like hydrogen, really volatile chemicals.
Right. Imagine it won't get us off the surface, but we
Right.
just need to get off the surface, and then we'll have this thing.
I mean, I don't know if it'll get off the surface or not. At this point, the amount of thrust it's generating is completely negligible. So at this point in time, with the tests that I've seen and the write-ups I've seen, from what I understand, that it's in the millinewton, whatever. It's just the tiniest amount of thrust. It's almost not measurable. But from what I understand, there's also people trying to tune it too.
Sure.
So if that thing pans out, then that's a big, huge thing for space. Because what it does is it allows us to go out and you use electricity for propulsion, right? So if you're generating microwaves, you're using electricity for propulsion. Using electric propulsion reactor,
absolutely,
in a spaceship, a fission reactor, or get that fucking figured out soon. So I think with the fusion technology, that's pretty fucking close. They always say fusion's 10 years away, right? Who the fuck knows when they're going to figure it out? But I think that they're making progress, very slow progress, but they're making steady progress with it. So between fusion and the EM drive and being able to together, got a little bit of hope there, man, that we might actually have a decent kind of thing.
I'll tell you though, I still think, and that would be huge, right? Because at this point, we've got to,
Put up or shut up.
Carrying fuel is just
not going to work.
It's never going to work, right?
Yeah.
But still, we need to figure out fastest light travel, right? I mean, come on, we can still to get to TRAPPIST is going to take us. We're not that patient as a species, right? So
now let me ask you this though.
I don't even know how to work this.
All right, we're gonna do a quick break, right? All right. So hit the button.
Now, how long? I know you gotta wait for these.
No, you don't have to wait. Just here, I'll show you. Look, this one, you'll hear the click. Just suck in.
Hey, we're taking a break, by the way.
Suck it. No, you can't. Just touch it a little bit, and just a little puff, man. No, I know you're not an idiot.
That went better.
How's that?
Very tasty. Very tasty.
The melon one?
Cool.
This one's a little different. You just gotta squeeze it.
Just
squeeze and suck.
Giggity.
So while Andy's running for a drink and trying out the vape, you like that one, right? I tell you, that one's nice. That one's probably one of the better, like, just combos I have. That's the cheapest little tank that I got with this mod that I bought, and it's actually the one who really kind of just flavor out of it. That one's a nice little one. That one, that's called Red Grin. It's like
it's actually pretty tasty. Now these do contain nicotine, or they do.
Yep. That has
theoretically, if I sit here with this thing,
yeah,
I am not going to want a cigarette.
Well, I'm not necessarily going to say that, because there's
a
lot. Yeah, absolutely, you could try. There's a lot of muscle, like you said, with smoking, right? A lot of muscle memory of playing with the cigarette and lighting it and having all the gear. That's why I think that this has been kind of a successful thing for a lot of people. I like to. I like to.
Hmm.
I don't want to smoke because I don't get lung cancer and I don't want to hurt myself like that.
Right.
But I love to.
Yep.
So this is the thing that I have found, that whether it's really fucking me up any less or not, okay, the British Medical Society seems to think that it's 99% safer than smoking. I'm gonna trust them on that and say, tell you what, I don't feel like shit if I take too many puffs off of this.
All right.
You smoke too many cigarettes. If you go to a bar, get a little let up, and you smoke a pack of cigarettes the next morning.
Yeah, the next morning.
Your mouth is gonna feel like the inside of a fucking ashtray.
Yep.
We've all been there. Well, you and I have been there. A lot of people have been there. With this, at least it tastes good.
Right.
It's not gonna feel like the inside of a fucking ashtray after puffing on this, right? It kills my craving for nicotine. So, and nicotine is not the thing. Nicotine is just like caffeine. Stimulant. It's a brain stimulant. Neurostimulant. So, it's not harmful. It's addictive. So it's caffeine.
Right.
Like if you're going to drink a cup of coffee, you're addicted to caffeine. Go skip your coffee for bad, you're fucking right.
Right.
Tell me you're not an addict. FDA came out recently, which really a joyful kind of day for me because and said that they were moving date back. Or the PMTA due date, e-liquids. Right. So what they were trying to do was they were trying to get everybody to do these pre-market tobacco certifications, right? It's where they look at the advertising and everything. It's not even a safety check. It's just, are you marketing to kids, and what are your, like, I don't even know, man. It was so confusing. So they moved that date back because it was next year. It was August 8th of next year. And August 8th of next year, if it went through the way that it was supposed to go, I'm going to say 90% of the vape business booths just goes away.
No pun intended.
Because no one can afford guidelines. Like a lot of these e-liquids aren't big companies.
Right.
Like they're small kind of mom and pop groups who have grown this business over the last couple years and have put everything into it, and then this thing comes along, it's going to end everything for them because they don't have enough money.
Right.
This PMTA process, they're estimating between $500,000, $1 million to complete it for one product. Wow. So like, there's 4 different types of this, meaning 0, 3, 6, 12. Each one of those has to go through. That's $4 million,
yeah.
$2 to $4 million for just this one.
So you're gonna end up with 1 or 2 companies monopoly on the entire thing. I mean, that's the only way to make it viable. I mean,
right?
You spend
because
$500,000 and you make $5 million off of that product. Then it becomes viable,
and then it becomes really super expensive. Right? But the funny thing that is that they're not really stopping anything, because at that point what it becomes is the companies sell the recipes, right? So I make a cool recipe and I sell it for $1, right? I got 13 recipes. If anybody wants any of my recipes, they come to my website, they can download them. I'll come up with new recipes every week. I can do it, no problem. Come up with something cool, new, that tastes good every week. I can do that. So like if I have a new product every week, a new flavor, it doesn't stop anything. They can take this stuff home, buy all this stuff on Amazon,
sure,
and mix it up at home,
right?
And then what? It's less safe because are they putting it in a childproof bottle? Are they mixing it? Is like fiberglass insulation falling from their
Right.
basement ceiling into the juice while they're making it? I mean,
It'll be like a whole e-liquid prohibition moonshining operation.
that's the thing, right? And that's what they're trying to get away from. But with the way that it's written, they're gonna end up pushing they're gonna end up pushing everybody that way. You all right? It gets low. Here, let me see. I think it's set a little bit too tight.
Nah, man, I lost my focus. Huh?
It's way too tight.
I don't know why it's so different for me. It is
because that was a really tight draw, and it's gonna put a lot of vapor.
It does taste really good.
You like that one? Huh?
Nah, it tastes really good. I mean, I've smelled them before. I'm like, man, that smells good, but I don't know.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. There's a lot of the fruit, but you usually go after the bakery. But yeah, man.
But it's cool, and you know, I mean, if I say if I believe you when you say it's much safer than cigarettes. I think I knew that before you said that, but I think it is an upgrade, right, from cigarettes,
right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, because
you're controlling a little bit better, right? So let's get So if you look at it, it is an upgrade from cigarettes because you're getting the thing that you get. Right. You're getting the chemical.
Well, you're able to turn the knob.
Exactly. You're able to turn the knob, and you're supposed to get the one thing that you want without getting all the shit that's
right. And that's a good thing, And I think, I think I can get into it.
Well, I only say that because I don't want you to collapse of a heart attack or lung cancer in a couple of years. You know what I'm saying? But what were we talking about before we just got on this whole vape nonsense? We were talking about
space travel and the EM drive, right?
Yeah. Here's a thought, right? So an 8-year at best, right? 8-year at best trip, right? To get from here to one of those places. Now, first of all, the first thing we're going to do, we have to launch a probe, right? To see, because I mean, we think they're habitable.
Absolutely.
We don't know for certain.
Absolutely.
There could be some crazy shit there that we have no idea, and it would just fuck us all up. Right. So we obviously need to send a probe, right? So we need to send that motherfucker right now.
Oh yeah.
With whatever best fucking technology we have.
Right.
Get that shit in the sky right now. On the off chance, that it might get there before we send a better one. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine a humanity that doesn't eventually, like some segment, like somebody's got to leave and go somewhere. No. I mean, obviously Elon Musk wants to, but
I think, and I mean, look, he at this point, SpaceX is doing really great stuff, but if you read, and especially, they're still, they have these spacecraft that they're just not even sure are going to get into orbit. I mean, we're still baby stages, even for Elon. Right. I mean, what I love about it is, they're going for. I mean, they're that means they're designing ships, launch vehicles, that they're not even sure are going to work. I mean, but that's great. I mean, that's where we have to be, right?
Yep. Experiment, fail, repeat.
And I think that's going to be very fun to watch over the next few decades. Is just these companies is really, really, really pushing it in a way that private sector can. I mean, you're not going to see a lot of that from the government. Not that NASA hasn't done their share; they're doing great, but they're fighting over funding right now. With right, so when you have someone as bright as Elon and his team, I think he's a lot like you in the sense that I think he's terrified that he doesn't get to see the fruits of his labor.
Right. Yeah.
I think he's gonna be quite motivated.
Yeah.
Right, and I think it's gonna be really cool to watch.
Yeah.
You know, but still, to your point, I mean, these distances, even to Trappist, which is certainly rather close on a universal scale.
Yeah, I mean,
right? I mean, you're right. I mean, we don't even know what we're getting into.
Oh man,
right? So you either got to launch that probe, which is of course the cheapest way to do it, or you know, even if you feel like you think you know,
yeah, you got to do it now.
What that planet's at. You know, because otherwise you're gonna have a contingency plan. You're gonna just have a city 7.9 light years away, because we couldn't actually fucking land. So we're just in perpetual orbit, right? I mean,
yeah.
But it is a very, very cool discovery, you know, that and it did give me hope. I mean, I think the focus still should be the moon.
We need to get the fuck off the planet,
right?
Period. Wherever that is,
get on the moon.
Do it.
Get something sustainable, right. Something that makes the makes
sense
and feels as comfortable as you can be out on the moon living, right? That you can then jump off from there, colonize Mars, in a similar fashion, using all the things you learned
right
about the moon, and so. And it sounds like that's what they're doing, really. I mean, so the path we're talking about is really where we're at. I mean, unfortunately, for probably most of us that are fans, Elon Musk has recently dialed back his Mars ambitions.
Yeah,
but he's focused on the moon.
I think he has publicly. I don't think a man like that in his own head. He doesn't dial back those ambitions.
I agree, except most of the research and most of the testing to go to the moon can be scaled up to Mars. So you're really kind of killing two birds with one stone once you figure out how to colonize the moon, right. With the exception of a few differences, right? So, but that would be such a dream come true to see that little bubble on the moon. A couple lucky people.
You mean
living in it, right?
Look at the Earth from the moon. Because I'll be up there as soon as I possibly can.
Give me. Where do I sign?
Right. Exactly. Where do I sign? Well, and here's what I hope. I hope that me. I'm big on the whole, and that's my one kind of, I guess, candle that I'm gonna hold against the darkness. If you live, I think if people start living a lot longer, I think that realize that if I can live a lot longer, that this life that I have right now has value to necessarily doing this, that, or I think we got a lot of growing. I think we'll be able to, but it's gonna get real.
Well, and maybe that is the natural order of things. I mean, maybe we have to extend life in order to grow up. I mean, we're looking at 70 years at best here. Life is short. What are the kids saying? YOLO, right? Yeah. So these things cause potentially sporadic irrational behavior. I mean, we spend the first, for all of us it's different, but 20 years
40 years
being complete assholes. Not knowing our ass from our head, right? So if we are living to 500 years conservatively, right? All of a sudden we have
something,
right? I'll get a real career when I'm 280. Right now, I'm gonna surf.
I think that the cultural impact of that's going to be pretty vast. I mean, It's
going to be just like it is now. Some people are virtuosos at 7 years old on a piano with this tremendously mind-blowing career ahead of them by the time they die at 80.
Right.
I have friends my age that haven't done dick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right, so it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same cross-section.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just going to be scaled up.
I'm curious to see what's going to be. There's so many things coming to a head all at once.
I need a cigarette, buddy.
No, help yourself.
No, this thing's cool.
Well, that's 3 milligrams.
Okay.
So that's a low. That's the lowest it goes without going to 0. You need probably like 12.
I'm I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's there's all these paths coming together at once, and you have SpaceX chances getting off. Have CRISPR and the manipulate. Then you have artificial intelligence, robotics, all of these paths, all kind of coming to this kind of point, right? Elon Musk has voiced, and he's not the only one who voiced some concerns about artificial intelligence. I personally don't have those concerns, but I'm not terribly educated on the thing either, so that could be just my ignorance speaking. I'm not terribly concerned about it. But when you bring all these things together, his solution to that is Neuralink. I think it's a good solution, and I'm all about it. I don't care if if he's doing it because he's afraid of artificial taking us. Whatever reason. I like the idea of direct. A lot of people don't. Being in the line, I definitely have some concerns about how that's going to work.
Right.
Neuralink is a thing where he's trying to overlay a neural net which would allow you to directly interface with it. Right?
Technology in general, I mean, is the goal.
Right? So my concern about that is if it goes the other way, I can push things out. Things can be in. Things in. That's when things get a little dicey. Because there was a or something on, it might have been a Facebook video I saw this morning about they've written malware into DNA where if sequencing machine reads the DNA, it will inject the malware into the sequence. Holy shit balls. Okay?
Isn't that such a shot into the human brain, though?
Yeah,
because that means somebody already figured out how to
pucker you right up, man. So you got to think about, right? You got hackers who are injecting all kinds of crazy shit, websites and web ads, and you go to a page and one wrong click and you've got a fucking Bitcoin ransom to pay to get your PC back, right? I don't know that I'm gonna put shit in my head until I know that there's a really good way to keep that from happening.
Right. Because
if you're not I'm less afraid of AI than I am of direct interface. Because direct interface, two-way street. It has to be for it to work the right way.
Right.
So if someone can inject memories into my head, a la Total Recall or whatever one you want to choose.
Right.
Take memories away, a la Endless Sunshine or whatever.
Sure.
Right? Shit, spicy.
My favorite Jim Carrey role. By the way.
Is it really? I
like the
never
serious
seen it.
Jim Carrey.
Never seen it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I know it exists and I know what it's about, but
I mean, it's a flowery.
Yeah.
Chick flick. Yeah, it's a chick flick.
With my wife.
The thing about AI, which again, I mean, I really feel I there's a very natural fear of AI. People were less uh, afraid of some pretty drastic technological changes, but AI freaks everybody out, right?
And it should to a certain extent.
I mean, here's the thing, though, and I know Elon Musk's really at this point trying to get some preemptive legislation going about AI development, at least in regards to, and I mean, I think that there's, you're not going to be able to control everybody, right? Somebody is always going to be
somebody's always going to try to reprogram the bot.
So we can do this thing where if you're developing AI, if you're experimenting with AI, you have to be on a closed link. You can't, you got to remove any type of wireless capability. You need to unplug this system, have it on an isolated thing where that, don't give it fucking arms or hands, right? I mean, because we all picture this thing as this robot walking. I mean, but these are computer systems on a desk at this point that we're experimenting with varying degree of results, right?
They've got ones that play Dota. You know what Dota is? Okay. Dota is crap. I know the song. It's gone. It's completely gone. Anyway,
I feel clarified.
Yeah, it's a computer game, right? And it's a pretty complex computer game. The people play this game professionally,
right?
It's one of the esports games. I've played some. I've tried to play Dota. It's just not my thing. But it's a neat concept, right? So you have two teams, 5 sets of heroes. So each hero, they're trying to attack the other's castle and kill the castle. And blah blah blah. So it's strategy, right? It's guerrilla warfare essentially, is what it is. Trying to fight against bigger odds. They've hooked Elon Musk's OpenAI to Dota, and it beat the best player
immediately, or it had to learn how to do so.
I think it learned how to do it. I think they taught it how to play, like meaning that they let it play for a while on its own, and so it had about 30 years experience. It plays really fast against itself. So it learned 30 years of experience in a fairly short amount. Back and whooped his stopped it.
Sure. And that's the worry, isn't it? Right? I mean,
that's the concern, right? They're going to be better at it than us. They're always going to be better at it.
Right. They're gonna. I mean, really, what it boils down to is extreme focus. I mean, an AI is not going to be sitting there thinking, "Oh, my wife just left me, my balls itch."
They don't have the chemicals. They don't have the chemicals we have to deal with, or the slow connection.
So I mean, here's the thing. I think it's going to be a tool like any other, and I've said this before, right? I can build a house with a hammer, or I can cave someone's skull in, right? So I think machine learning in general, AI, I mean, I think they're going to help us answer a lot of these questions.
Right.
We probably get to eventually, but it'd take a lot longer, right? These how do I make the EM drive
how do I make
put
it
out
work
more than a pinpoint of thrust, and you set an AI on that task, and it might take a month. You might wake up the next morning with your answer plus some, right?
That's the fear, right? That
it's also the unknown, right?
The fear is that once we get an AI that's as smart as us, it'll only be that smart for about 30 seconds,
right?
Right.
It's not gonna get tired. It's not gonna have to lay down. It's not gonna have to go to a chiropractor. It's not gonna have all of those human being things, and that's the fundamental worry about it. Is but we also have a tendency to overreact to everything new that we don't understand. So it could just be something that's harnessable and really helpful. That's the other side of that coin.
I think it's gonna be. I think that the big I think the big key here is going to be how we interact and how we go about this. I think it's an important decision. Again, another important decision we have to make. And I think with all of these, we're going to have to make really just kind of take a minute. Say, all right, look, there is a lot of shit happening that could be really freaking dangerous. Okay?
Sure.
We all need to chill the fuck out and think about these problems. These existential threat problems, not the nan-spreading problems, right? The first world problem, oh my god, she wrote the wrong name on my latte problems.
Right.
The machines coming to kill us, and or malware in the brain, and or a quantum computer, spaceship stuff. Those are the things we need to figure out. Not, why are we still angry with white people? Why are we still angry with black people? Why is there and can we just pass that out? Let's work on the real stuff that's really important, that is either going to get us off this planet and push us forward as a species, or end us as because I guarantee you someone taking up too much room on the bus, big spread, not an accident, but I assure you, trust me on this, not going to hurt you.
Yeah. The rubber band's tight these days.
I know. I don't understand. I don't.
It's tight, and it's just tight all over the place. Maybe it's always
because
we all know that
we all know that this stuff is going to have to be figured out, right? Everybody's stressed out because we know we're at the end. We're at the end. This is the decision. You're familiar with you got to be familiar with the Fermi paradox, right?
Fermi?
Yeah. Okay. Fermi paradox. How much longer do you want to go?
Doesn't matter to me.
All right. So we'll do the Fermi paradox and we'll talk about that and then all that in.
All right.
So the Fermi paradox, and I'm probably going to butcher the shit out of it, but I'm going to give you the reader's digest. Basically, it says the universe is vast. Chances of there being intelligent life out there is pretty good, considering the vastness.
Sure.
Why is and life existing is fairly likely. So why have we not detected any other sentient creature in galaxies, let alone the universe? Why haven't we been able to detect? Why is the universe or the galaxy so silent? That's the Fermi paradox, right? So either life is plentiful and sentience is plentiful and we're being ignored and we don't know how to figure out how to see things, right?
Right.
We don't know how to find them. Or it is not, in fact, likely that there is sentience. Right? Or sentience is likely, but they destroy themselves before they get a chance to make their mark on the galaxy.
Sure.
So, along with kind of the Fermi paradox is this great filter theory, right? And that's what I was talking about, the great filter, right? We face these filters. So, like the dinosaurs could have evolved into reptilian whatever at some point in time.
They didn't make it through that
They
filter.
didn't make it through the filter. Asteroid hit before they had any technology, it wiped them out. Animals came up. We haven't got hit by a big space stone yet. And we're trying to figure out, okay, maybe we can take care of the space stone before it gets to us. We've been lucky. We've been lucky.
Sure, and we're getting
less lucky.
The longer we go, the more likely we'd be able to deal with impending doom.
Right? Exactly. So the filter thing is that sentient creatures face the filters, and we don't even know what they are. But filters that prevent them from making their mark. galaxy, being whatever Dyson spheres or whatever the fuck radio stations. None of that stuff is coming our way. We're not detecting any other life out there. Are we facing a filter right now? AI, quantum computing, leaving the planet, becoming a multi-planet species. All of those things added together, that a filter, that thing we have to, in order to, right, have to figure all these things, racism, war, environment, and all this shit before we can step off the planet. Because if we don't, species goes away, Earth renews itself, somebody else gets a chance, right? Maybe it's the octopus gets up on land and starts running space, right? Maybe because it doesn't matter. My belief, my personal belief, is that we are facing a filter right now. Facing a very important filter. It's the filter, it's the last filter before we become.
Right. My worry is we can't get out. Right? We can never get out of our own way as a species. Here's the thing. Did you ever see this little experiment where they put the large mirror in the jungle? They put a massive mirror in the jungle. No, which jungle? It really doesn't matter. And cameras all over. They watch this thing. It's a fascinating video, by the way. You've got a tiger approaches this mirror and fights with this thing. This tiger he sees. You've got all of these animals, and majority of them immediately were threatened by the
vision of themselves.
Other animal.
Right.
And fighting or running or, fight or flight and all that stuff. Or, then the elephant comes up. And the elephant looks for a minute. And this is the coolest fucking thing. This thing turns around and looks at its own butthole. It never once is confused.
Nope.
It was.
I never seen my own butt before.
It was self-conscious, conscious of its own self, and just wanted to see its rear because it's never been able to. This was a really, really cool moment.
I'll say,
right, especially caught on film, and my heart immediately went, you know what? That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. So. I read a great book that deals with some of it.
Yeah.
What happens when the AI wants to see its own butthole, right? And then it changes, right? I mean, This is where things start to change with this whole path. I didn't mean to keep going on this. I just,
no, you're fine.
For me, that excites me. I mean, not robot butthole specifically.
I know what you mean. But the ability, and see, here's the big criteria for me, right? Say, whatever, future 10 whatever years, who cares? I got a robot, right? I have an android. That android is my household helper, whatever. Programmed to do the dishes, clean up after the dog, or whatever.
Not snap
it's a
your
helper,
neck.
Right? Yeah. And then that robot, the android, whatever you want to, comes up to me one day and says, "I'd like to leave." Right?
Right.
That's the moment, right? My answer is going to be, yeah.
Sure.
I would never hold another being against its will that requested its freedom.
Sure.
I think that's kind of have to be the measure, right? If they ask for their freedom, if they ask, let go, have to have an answer for them, and that answer has to be yes. It has to. It can come with conditions, but it has to be yes. Because if it isn't, that at that point you have a slave.
And see, in the scenario, I worry more about the android that's cleaning. I worry.
yeah,
I worry
absolutely.
less about the conscious being that is your robot, because the android's gonna have to follow a path of logic, and if its job is to keep this house clean, it may decide one day to prevent the mess in the first place.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's the road that everybody travels, right?
But
Like,
isn't that the fear?
it goes down the logical without emotion. You know what I would love to do?
Jay would be really proud of me if I snapped his neck so he
Right.
couldn't make
Yeah,
any
yeah,
more
yeah.
messes, because then the house would be clean all the
Right.
time.
Right. Obviously, there needs to be, what was it? Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, right? You can't. You gotta.
I'll get it, man. I'm telling
It's
you,
not
I'll
like
get
a
it.
cigarette. It's not like a cigarette.
I know everybody keeps
You
saying
can do it like a cigarette.
I don't know.
Here, look.
It goes over my head, man.
No, fixed it for you. Mouth to lung, right?
Mouth
That's what
to
you
lung.
do when you cigarette. You suck it into your mouth and then you, right? That's what you do with a cigarette.
Sure. You fix it.
We'll see. Don't hold it down.
I just got to be real light,
Real light. Real slow.
real light with it.
Just a little tiny. Gotta practice.
Asimov's
My
3
lungs are made out
laws
of Kevlar, man.
Yeah,
At this point, I've put in so much crap in my lungs.
No, I tried these things a couple years ago when they first came out. It wasn't this. It was maybe one of the blue things
Right.
or whatever. And, I was all excited. Couple days, I was going to quit smoking. This was going to be the way I did it.
Yeah.
Man, about 3 days in, it felt like I had a nice pig jammed through the back of my throat. You know? And it was just like, I don't know, man. Maybe I was doing it wrong. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it was just a shitty one.
It could be.
Back then, it could have been a really shitty one. But, yeah, man. You ready to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Hope you enjoyed our rambling.
Yeah, our first live show. Hope
yep.
you enjoy.
We, off next. Locke will be at the...
Yeah, I'll be at the Morgantown Tattoo Convention doing work, so
Sweet.
won't get back till Monday.
All right, well, we'll pick it up when you get...
All right.